June was McDonald. He's older than dirt. Assuming you're taking me off. You just have to pay attention because somebody knows something. How you doing? I heard a rumor you were just laid up. Vacation in the hospital. Something you knew or you had a little attack? I'm glad you're here, boss.
Oh, they got it. Maybe had to warm up. Tubes. I don't know these. I don't know. The appeal, but that's their lawyer over there, so. Well, we're still.
Are we still working on that?
I think it's supposed to come back with an update or something. I don't know.
Is Denise coming?
All I can think was War of the Worlds. Because nobody paid attention. New business. Building golf and truck. we had it from last month, and I kept running over there. I don't like these new applications. I find the names downstairs. Let me shift it. That's the first thing. Ratification decision. Why is this? Ratification decision. Savaggio.
Well, she's gone now.
Stuff there. Same on these. Nice Crow 2. Okay. Crow 2.
The one up on
Click,
top.
click. All right, got it. Got package had it from last month.
Oh, you know what?
No, I haven't seen it.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. That's right. That's right.
This was North Fence? Yeah, she's like a, yeah, she's smart. It's like a band. She's like, wow.
Production doctors tomorrow from me. We're pressing, but not as fast as I would like it to be, but Jenny, I just don't know anymore. I mean, I've read everything. All the books that I've done. I mean, I cleaned the house. I rearranged the basement. I mean, it's just more to them. And the other day, I was at the fire station. So I was sitting in my office, sitting at my desk, and I'm doing some paperwork, some much needed paperwork. And I got a fire call.
They like it because safety covers both pages. They like it. The way it's set up.
So bad.
Okay, at this time here, I'd like to call the Coventry Zoning Board of Review in session. This time, I'd also like to point out the fire exits are to your rear. These two exits to my rear take you into the building. So the only two fire exits are to your rear. I'd also like to point out that the application of Mr. Reptakis has been withdrawn, so if anybody is here for that application, the application of Mr. Reptakis has been withdrawn. And, underneath the, agenda for tonight, I would like to move Mr. Petracca's application up forward, since that has already been approved, and that's just to continue it. Okay, at this time here, I'd like to have the, attendance taken.
Bob Crow,
Here.
Denise DeGrade. Here. Ginny Susi. Here. Keith Cloutier.
Here.
John D'Onofrio.
Here.
Russ Lockley.
Here.
Okay, let the record reflect that we have a full board. Also, do we have an approval for the, minutes of last month's meeting? Do I have a motion?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nays? Ayes have it. Okay, Okay, we have Chavaggio on Twin Brook Lane. Was requesting a dimensional variance for road frontage for construction of a new home. That was approved by all the members with conditions. Do I have a,
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we ratify that decision.
I'll second that.
okay, I have a motion made to ratify and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nays? Ayes have it. Okay, the next one was, Stephen Shippey of 755 Town Farm Road. Applicant, applications for a special use permit, construction of an addition, use for an accessory, family dwelling, and in-law apartment. That application was approved by a 4 vote. And do I have a motion on the floor to
I'll
ratify?
make that motion, Mr. Chairman, to ratify that decision.
Second the motion.
Okay, motion's made, seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nays? Ayes have it. Okay, old business. As I explained, we have Reptakis has withdrawn that application. We did hear Toronto, 8 Canyon Drive, and we continued that to the board to go out and take a look at. I went out there myself, took a look at that, and was not pleased at all. I think that fence in the front yard is very intrusive. I walked around the structure. The backyard apparently was used, they say it's for the dogs in the front, but it was all landmines all over the place. And I thought that fence could be moved as presented in the application. It did not belong in the front of the house. I'm gonna leave it open now for the rest of the board. Anybody else have any comments on this?
I took a ride down there, I took a look at it, it's high, I'll make no bones about that. The fact that the neighbors on both sides really don't have a problem. Matter of fact, one neighbor was more concerned about leaving the fence up because of fear of the dogs going over the fence. I did not walk behind the house, but to me, the fact that nobody's complaining about it and the two people that did show up were in favor of it, I'm more inclined to leave it, so that's my feeling.
Yeah, and I'm with Russell on that. I went by there. There are limitations as to where they can pen those dogs in to run around.
Well, it's not supposed to be there, so.
I think that, to Russell's point, where the neighbors are in favor of the fence staying,
I
I'm
think
more
that's
inclined to,
fines.
yeah.
I don't disagree with you, but the reason why it's in front of us,
No, I
because
understand.
somebody did bring it up to
I thought it was, did somebody bring it up to you, or you found it?
No, somebody complained and we went out and investigated, so,
Did that person come and testify against it?
nobody
Nobody
testified
did.
against it.
Nobody talked against it.
Okay.
I mean, I know it's not something I'd want
No,
in my house or next to me.
right.
And I don't feel that, we're taking any beneficial use of the property away from the individual. The hardship is created by the applicant. And it's not the relief necessary. And if we do not create a usable, there is no hardship on this. I think the only hardship is that the applicant asked to, after the fact, to put up a fence, and it's all after the fact.
Well, the hardship is she'd have to take down the fence she has and then erect one somewhat smaller area on the side of the house. That's,
Right, but that would have been the correct way to do it at the beginning. Let's check it out and see where I can put it.
I agree, but
Yep.
Oh, thank God.
Anybody else have any comments on this?
I agree with you.
Okay. John,
Well, as I said, I mean, if the neighbors were upset about it, they're not here to tell us that. Matter of fact, as Russell said, one neighbor wants to keep the fence up because he's concerned about safety of having dogs out there. And there's really not a lot of places to let these dogs run in their yard.
well, they can put it over to one side. It doesn't have to be in the front yard. I mean, if everybody just put a fence up in the front yard, it'd be,
I'm also inclined to.
My neighbors did.
well, see?
I'm also inclined to put a stipulation that if the time ever is that she no longer has dogs, that they take the fence down. You know, so it's not,
Right.
you know, it's not
It's not
grandfathered.
perpetual, right.
Yeah.
So if you vote to approve, it'd be with a stipulation?
Yes.
Okay. All right, this time here, I'd like to call for a roll call vote on this application.
Excuse me, I would like to suggest that, if there is a consideration of approving this, that any stipulations also include expiration upon, sale of the property as well as that, so
I
it
agree with
doesn't
you.
carry
It'd
over
be a
to the next
stipulation.
owner.
I'm sure that would be okay. I'd go with that too.
Okay, at this time, I will start the vote. I deny. Jenny, how do you vote?
Deny.
Russ?
Approve with the two stipulations.
Keith?
Will I be voting, Chair? You have a quorum?
Yes, I
Yes.
wasn't here.
Okay. I'm gonna deny, sir.
Okay.
I'm gonna
John?
approve a stipulation.
Okay, the application's denied. Okay, new business. No, I'm sorry, we have the one on,
Hill Farm Road.
which we never heard though.
Yeah, I just wasn't clear. Denise,
She wasn't here last month.
What's
okay,
that?
you didn't vote, so,
I didn't vote,
okay.
because I wasn't here last month.
Okay, can you read it into the record, the application, please?
The applicant and owner is Travis Leclerc. The location of property is AP 318, lot 16271, Hill Farm Road. Zone is village rural commercial. Existing use is three-family dwelling. Proposed use the same. Applicant is seeking a special use permit to legalize existing three-family dwelling unit.
Okay, please give your full name and address.
Travis E. Leclerc, 71 Hill Farm Road, Coventry.
Okay, and the young lady with you? Okay, I'm gonna ask you both to raise your right hand. You swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but truth in front of this board?
I do.
Okay. Please present your application. What are you to the application?
I'm just a friend, but he was feeling more comfortable if I spoke, and I've been, involved with this property.
Okay, actually, I need the owner of the property to speak or a legal representative of him.
Understood. I guess my application was that the property is approved through the town as a 3 to 5 family, but through the zoning board, it says it is a 2-family. And, there are 3 existing apartments in it, and I was just requesting that it would be approved on paper as a 3-family with no modifications other than the paperwork.
Okay, you have here a 3-family unit, you believe. You are paying taxes on, what do you have for evidence? Did you bring anything in? Did you bring, when you purchased it, was it a 3-family? I need something to support it. It's not that you like it or dislike it. I need something to support the evidence of a 3-family.
Understood. So I have no supporting paperwork.
How about your taxes? You're paying taxes every year.
I don't have it in my pocket.
But they have it. You have it.
Brian, do you have the,
I researched the property. I found no approvals that I could find showing that this was anything more than a 2-family.
okay, so they're paying taxes now on a 2-family.
What the tax assessor does and what zoning approvals do are 2 different things. If a tax assessor goes out and finds 5 units, they're gonna tax it as 5 units, whether they're legal or not legal.
Right, but I kinda, if a person's paying taxes on 3 units, and because the zoning board and the tax assessor don't talk together, that's not the individual's fault.
No, that's not the way it works. They
I
have
know
to-
that's not the way it works, but that, the common layman wouldn't know any difference, is what I'm saying.
This property, I could find no indication in any tax record or anywhere that this was anything other than a 2-family.
Okay,
I do have supporting paperwork. I am completely unprepared.
all right, do we wish to continue this? To let the individual,
Can I ask you, how long ago did you purchase this property?
Approximately 5 years.
And when you bought it, it was a 3
Correct.
unit?
And, well, the fire department came out and put in all the
So your paperwork, I'm assuming, so we can continue this, so if you come back, you can show me, for instance,
Yes,
show
sir.
us the bill of sale saying that this was that. I mean, it's not necessarily gonna guarantee anything, but it's got, like the chairman says, we've got something to go on.
Yes, sir. I do have the paperwork that it says on the tax roll, it's taxed as a 3-family. I have the paperwork from the Central Coventry Fire Department that says it's approved for three-family as far as the fire safety. And I do have supporting documents, I just don't have them with me.
Okay, the vice chair has brought to my attention that she does have a copy of your tax rolls. And it is being taxed, I'm gonna take a look at it, if I understand it, if I'm correct, as a three-family. Building type 2, three-family, full bath. Also, valuation, I don't know what year this is, and they got a 2 to 5 family, which doesn't make any sense.
Mr. Chairman,
Yep,
the tax assessor's rule is solely for the purpose of determining value for assessment purposes. You cannot rely on it for legal purposes. You know,
okay, well,
the acreage, all of that is not reliable. Standard.
but that's what the individual's paying.
That's fine, and he has a right to contest it if he doesn't think it's right, but it is not evidence that you can rely on.
But why would he think it's wrong when that's what it's what he's got?
You know what? How did you buy this property? Didn't you buy it out of foreclosure?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, so his job when he buys the property.
Okay, I need your closing statement.
Understood.
To
Correct.
research the property, I mean, most lenders now, when you borrow money to buy a house, want a zoning certificate. If you are buying it as an investment property, they make you go to the zoning official that it is legally permitted for the use that you intend. It's his job to research whether or not it's really a three-family, not ours. Even though he's, you know,
Do you have any building permits?
Negative.
When you purchased it, it was a three-family.
Oh, when I purchased the property, I obtained one building permit to put a roof on it. And to have electrical work done.
Okay, now, Brian, you have,
Mr. Chairman, I have correspondence here.
Microphone?
Oh, Mr. Chairman, I have correspondence here dated September 29, 2003, signed by Damian Sorrentino, the assistant planner, advising his predecessor entitled Mr. Del Deo that, the zoning compliance certificate. At your request, the Coventry tax assessor's records have been reviewed regarding the property located, this property. Please be advised that this property has been used as a two-family residence as far back as 1968. Therefore, the two-family use is considered a legal non-conforming use in the RR2 zone. So, back in 2003, it was a two-family. And that,
okay.
so I don't think you can say,
But isn't this a VRC zone? You said RR2.
I don't
Are all
It-
three
It's
units
VRC.
occupied right now?
It's VRC, it used to be RR2.
Okay, so they're not occupied right now?
Two of the three are.
Okay, so, okay, and who are they occupied by?
A person named Jim Hemar and Clayton LeClaire.
Are they paying rent or are they? just-
Yes, they are.
Okay, so,
About when it was revalued,
it's a different classification.
you have a paper on that, when they come around every 10 years and revalue, say anything on that?
It said, yes, in that paperwork said approved 2 to 5 family.
Right here.
Well, just I need clarification on this, because they're asking for relief for Article 6, Table 6, Line 5, which is multifamily dwelling. They really should be asking for relief on 6, which is taking the boarders or the renting of rooms, correct? This is not a multifamily, this is a rental unit,
No, this is multifamily.
No,
but they're
it's,
charging rent.
That's right, you can charge rent on multifamily.
Does that mean they're taking in boarders or renting rooms?
No. No.
No, they're separate dwelling units, meaning they have bathroom and kitchen renting a room is just like renting a bedroom in a house.
Okay.
How are the utilities divided up? How many electric meters are there?
There are 2 electric meters.
So how are they?
So, one electric meter is for one apartment, and then there is one electric meter that runs the other 2, and electricity is included in those 2 units.
Okay, how about sewers? Do you have a new sewer system for 3 units, or just?
It's an approved 3, it is approved, it was, updated within the last 2 years, but it was all approved for 3 units for the usage.
Okay, and you got state certificates for that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what I'm gonna ask you to do, if the board agrees, to come up with that paperwork for the state system. As far as I understand right now, this is my understanding, you do have, by that letter, 2 units, okay? As the third, we'd have to determine that by any other information you can submit to us.
Understood.
But this time, as of this time right here, and I think if the board would wish to continue this to next month, to you to provide this information.
I would, I just have one more question. If this is not granted, what's the hardship that you'll incur by this not being granted?
It would be rental loss and potential sale loss, the event of the sale of the property.
Okay.
I would just point out for the board, as the solicitor just read, the predecessor in title here was notified in 2003 that this was a legal non-conforming for 2 units. Sometime between 2003 and now, a 3rd unit was added illegally. 2 and 3 unit uses in the VRC are prohibited. There's no special use permit for it. There's no approval for it. This 3rd unit was added illegally. There was no approval, and even if they did apply, it would have had to been rejected because it's prohibited under the zoning ordinance.
Okay, well,
And it was prohibited all the way back to 1981 when this was originally an RR2
Brian, can you
zone.
just tell me where you're referencing that in the zoning ordinance about the, so I'm looking at the table.
But my biggest complaint is, it was an RR2. When did it change to, what are you saying?
VRC.
It's in my staff report. The VRC zone was created in 2000. Prior to that, it was RR2. Both as VRC and RR2, 2 and multiple family dwellings are prohibited uses. So they had the 2-family as legal
But
non-conforming.
VRC, it says, table 6-1, multifamily dwelling is permitted with a special use. That's why if you refer to someplace else in the ordinance.
And when did you purchase this?
Multifamily dwelling,
In 2013?
yeah, see,
Okay.
special use.
So you know what the zoning was in 2013 when you purchased it?
Look at, Brian, table
Yeah,
6-1A.
no, all right, I apologize.
So it is permitted with a special use.
All right, so there's no approval on record for that 3rd
Right.
unit.
Thank you.
Okay.
Since you purchased, did you indeed change it from a 2
Negative.
apart? So you bought it, it was already a 3
I
apartment?
purchased it with 3 individual complete units.
Just wanted that on the record, thank you.
Okay, can you bring that documentation to us next month?
Yes, sir.
If the board wishes to continue this. Anybody else have any discussion on this?
How was that marketed, as a 2 or 3 family?
It was marketed as a 3-family to me.
Right, okay, thank you.
Okay, bring in any information you have, okay? Would the board approve to continue this to next month?
So moved.
Yes, I would approve that.
Okay, motion made and seconded, all those,
And one other thing, meet with the planning department to make sure that you got what we need. So it's not we're all on the same page. That way, you could bring in stuff that could be critical and stuff that you might think not, and, somebody can certainly give you a list of things that would work in, if you will, in your behalf.
Understood.
Okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, how do we vote on this application? All those say aye to approve,
Aye.
Aye.
to continue this, nays? Okay, the application will be continued to next month,
Thank you.
okay? Okay, next application is, the new
Petrarca.
business.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have Mr. Petracca please come up.
Wait for the old guy. Wait for the old guy.
Oh, I didn't think he was gonna come.
He does okay.
I need to run away, Anthony.
Mr. Petracca, I ask you to give your full name and address.
Anthony Petracca, 2675 Flat River Road.
Okay, raise your right hand. You swear to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth in front of this board?
I do.
Okay, you're just here,
Yeah.
and I thank you for your time and service on this board, Mr. Petracca. How many years, 30?
35.
35.
God
bless
Thank you
you.
very much.
That's awesome.
Let's see now, you're just here to extend the application we already permitted, am I correct?
That's correct.
Any other questions from the board?
Yeah,
Mr.
just
Chairman,
what,
can we vote on this now?
yeah, that's why I asked, what happened? Why was the delay? What happened? Why, what's the delay? Why hasn't it been done yet?
Permitting, just tonight, a couple.
Okay, because I know it's a good plan, we all like it.
Welcome to the small business world.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But it's still on track and you still
Oh,
want to,
yeah.
okay, all right.
We're ready.
Excellent.
Okay, so at this time here, with no further questions,
Mr. Chairman,
like
I
to have
make
a
a
motion.
motion, we grant the, 6-month extension
Second it.
on this, application.
okay, motion is made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nays? Ayes have it. Thank you, Mr. Petracca.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, my next one's gonna be Sullivan.
The next application is owner applicant Alicia and Joshua Sylvain. The
Sylvain.
location is AP 315 lot 49, 5837 Flat River Road. Zone is RR5, existing use, single family residence, proposed use
This
is
is
same with in-law. Applicant seeks a special use permit to build a 24 by 24 addition for in-law apartment.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you your full name and address, please.
Alicia Sylvain, 5837 Flat River Road, Green, Rhode Island, 02827.
Sir?
Joshua Sylvain, 5837 Flat River Road.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you, raise your right hand. You swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth in front of this board?
I do.
Okay, explain to me what you'd like to do.
So, my parents are getting older, and my dad had some heart problems. He had 5 stents put in, and he had cancer. They live in Florida, probably 6 to 8 months out of the year, and when they come home, he's doing better, but, you know, I'm an only child, so we were hoping that you would allow us to add an in-law apartment so they could stay with us when they come home and if I have to take them to the doctors and things like that. But they're not here that often. It's mostly it would be 3 months tops out of the year they would be here.
Okay, now, I'm looking through here. Have you submitted a set of plans?
I did, sir, yep. And on it, I put a couple of notes, where the new, if you permit it, where the addition would be versus our house. Originally, see, my dad did the plans with the contractor, and I wasn't there for it. So when I finally got involved in it, we decided because they're gonna be living, if they can live with us, we're not gonna have a door between our house in there. It's just gonna be an open, so, you can kind of just walk back and forth. And also in the back where, they're gonna have like a little deck, there will be there's stairs to get in the house from outside, but there's no rear stairs. It says rear stairs, but there wouldn't be any rear stairs.
Okay, I went up to take a look at it, but my GPS had you way up in the back. No, huh?
No, right on the road.
Right on the road,
yeah.
huh? Okay. Now, there was I went by a house there and had like a big garage in the front.
That's us.
Oh, that's
That's
yours?
us, yep.
Okay, so I
Right-
did have the right.
Right past the speed limit sign, that's our house right there.
Okay, I did not go up and take a look at it, but I was
We have a big flag post.
Now, you're gonna put a 24 by 24 addition up.
Correct.
Okay, the plans I have here, do you, are not the plans you're gonna use, or these are the plans you're
Oh,
gonna
no,
use?
these are the plans.
These
Yes,
are the
sir.
plans
Yep.
you're gonna use, okay.
I was just saying, there should be a little sticky note on a few of them.
There is, yes.
Okay, where it said there was supposed to be a door, there wouldn't be a door between my parents' place and my place, it would be an open access so we could just walk through.
So
Okay.
from the dining room on your side to the living dining area
Correct.
on their side, there'll just be an opening?
Yes, correct,
Okay.
yep, yes.
They'll use the front door just like.
Nope, they would have on the left side of the house, they would have stairs to enter into.
But they can use your front door.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, absolutely. They can use whatever they want, of course.
I don't see this entrance from the outside.
Side entrance.
And the colder it gets in Rhode Island, the less they want to come
Yeah.
here.
A lot of us don't want to be
Okay,
here.
that's what I was looking at. Okay, and they're gonna park on the same side you park on, or are they gonna come across the front of the house and park over on that side?
Same
No,
side.
The same side that we're parking on.
Are they doing much driving?
No, not really.
Yep.
So how are the stairs, is that gonna be an issue for them using the stairs?
It shouldn't be. I mean, they go up and down. They're fine on stairs. It's just, that shouldn't be a problem.
How high are the stairs?
Honestly, sir, I don't know. I can find out. The contractor couldn't come today, and like I said, I wasn't, when, Anthony's a contractor, him and my dad made this up, I wasn't present for it, so I kinda got it after everything was printed out, and I was looking, and that's why I put little sticky notes on
Okay,
it.
I just wanna
and
make sure we're
everything.
not making you do something unnecessary just because you thought you had to,
Gotcha.
make it difficult for them.
Yep,
You know, so you have a good plan here, you're doing what we wanna see.
Yeah.
Common entrance, and you can just go past through the two units, I like that.
okay.
You have plenty of room in the envelope, Brian, is there plenty of room within the envelope?
Oh, yeah.
To put this addition up?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, after your parents are no longer deciding to live there,
Yes,
you realize you cannot rent this out, would have to revert to a single family.
yes, sir,
That
and
would be a required stipulation.
not a problem, and I can be, and tell my husband this all the time. I lived in Cranston for 35 years. I live where my office is, I'm 2 miles door to door. I am now 26 miles from my house to my office. We moved out here to be away from people. We don't want anyone else in our house. I'm being honest, I mean, I was 2 miles door to door, now I'm 26, so it's a drive every morning, but we want privacy.
Okay. Okay, any other board members have any questions?
What will the length be when it's all done on the front? I'm trying to find the figures here.
Sure, I don't know, wanna help?
To add 'em up.
1 second.
21 plus 24, 45 feet.
What is it?
45 feet.
45.
The whole,
Yeah.
the new part on too?
Yeah.
Correct.
New
It's a
animal.
lot bigger than that, it looks huge on here.
It does look huge, it's not
It
as,
looks very pretty.
The roof height's gonna be all the same, correct?
Yep.
yeah, no, don't worry, we're getting a new roof, we would be getting a new roof and the siding, everything would be all.
Yeah, I know in the plan it looks like two different roof heights. It's
No.
gonna be the same height all the way across.
Never seen any nice ones like that added on. Everything that works, it's so nice.
Any other questions from the board?
Mr. Chair, I did have one question.
Sure.
Do you have the septic capacity for the extra bedroom?
Yes, because we have, right now, we had a 3-bedroom, we converted to 2 bedrooms, so if we add on the addition, it'll technically be 3 bedrooms in the house.
You can provide the paperwork to Mr. Wagner for a state-approved 3-bedroom septic system.
I don't know if that's it. Is that it?
I'm just, it's unusual to see a two-bedroom house, and I know that DEM's definition of a bedroom can be awfully broad. So I just, when you say you eliminated a bedroom, what did you do?
So what we did was, we had 3 bedrooms, and we took our 2 bedrooms, and Josh took the wall down, and we made it into 1 bedroom for
Okay,
us.
so you removed the wall, okay.
Yeah, the wall's
that-
completely gone, and it's completely 1 large room
Okay,
for us.
that satisfies me. A lot of
Yeah, no,
times
we didn't
people
just take
take
the
down
door
a
out,
door,
yeah,
yeah,
no,
no,
it's completely, he has pictures if you want to see.
Okay, Mr. Wagner approves that set of plans, I have no complaints.
Do you want to show a picture of it? Okay, thank you.
I'm okay.
Okay. All right.
So do they need to provide proof or no?
Okay, now, I'm sure you've walked around your property many times. This is, I believe, from what you presented, the best location for this addition. It seems like it appears it goes along with the structure. I think, what's it, rocky in the back of your yard? Or is that, would it be better rough in the back, or would that be?
No, it wouldn't be.
So you've looked at, and this is the best location for it?
Yeah,
Yes,
over
sir.
the right side of the house is the septic, so you'd have to move the entire septic system to add it on that side.
Okay.
We had, people come out and check it out to make sure where the best spot it would be.
Well, you would know better than anybody.
Right,
yeah.
right.
Okay, I'd like to have a motion that we vote on this tonight.
No, we want anybody in the audience?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I'm gonna have you take a seat,
Sure.
please. Anybody here would like to speak on this application? Against it, have questions, or for the application? Anybody at all would like to speak on this application? Okay, I see there's nobody here to speak on
I
it.
make a motion that we vote on this application tonight.
Okay, I have a motion made to vote on it tonight. Do I have a second to that?
Second it.
Okay, a second. All those who approve, say aye.
Aye.
No denials? Okay, at this time here, I'm gonna start with, John.
I approve the application as submitted.
Denise?
Approve as submitted.
I approve as submitted. Jenny?
Approve.
Russ?
Approve as submitted.
Applications approved, submitted. Thank you very much.
We appreciate
Good luck.
that.
Are there any stipulations, are you gonna add stipulations to that, such as it reverts back to single family
Yes,
upon
yeah,
expiration
I'm
of
sorry,
sale?
that,
Yeah.
you're, I'm glad you
The standard.
corrected me
That's
on
what I
that.
meant.
Standard.
That's actually built into the ordinance right at this point, so it's not necessary to
No
attach it as a
stipulation.
stipulation.
Okay,
Thank you very much, we appreciate it.
thank you. Okay, can I have the next application read into the record?
Next applicant, the owner and applicant are Gary and Leanne Bork. Location is AP 323 lot 191, 28 Allison Avenue. Zone is R3. Existing use is single family residence. Proposed use is same. Applicant seeking dimensional variance to build a 20 by 28 garage with a 24-foot side setback where 50 is required and 66-foot rear setback where 90 is required.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you to give your full name and address for the record, each.
Gary Burke, 28 Allison Avenue.
Please, to do.
We currently have a 12 by 16 shed that is in disrepair. So I'd like to remove that shed and build a 20 by 28 garage in its place.
Okay, I took a ride over to your place, and you have an absolutely beautiful location there. You've done an awful lot of work. And looking at the plans you submitted, I would believe you probably picked the best location it can be in. Did you walk around? I'm sure you did. And you felt that this was the best location?
Yes.
Okay. I have no complaints with it whatsoever. I don't know if you have, board members have any other questions?
Absolutely no.
Oh, no, wait a minute, no, it's out in Western.
You don't have to tell us why you
Whitman
need it,
Road.
those of us that live on the pond know. For stuff.
Do you have any questions?
No, I don't.
John?
So I just want to understand, so you're gonna knock down the shed as, in this picture, you're knocking that shed
Yeah.
down. You wanna build that structure, which is very nice. Second floor, and is second floor for storage, or what's one above?
Just lawn chairs and all our summer stuff would be go up there.
Okay, and as far as, lighting, exterior lighting, it's not pointing away from the structure, it's just lighting the area?
Yep.
Not shining on neighbors? Adding plumbing?
No.
Just electricity?
Yes.
Okay.
Keith, did you have any questions?
No, sir.
Okay,
I have a question.
please.
Why can't it go anywhere else on the lot? Why does it have to go in this spot?
Well, according to zoning, it can't be in the front yard,
Yeah.
and that's the only side yard that we have.
What's the other side yard for water?
The backyard is the water.
See the arch on the top, that's the pond,
Yeah.
so it's pretty much the only place they can put it.
So, I'm looking at this picture again, you have that big driveway area.
Yes.
So if you moved it more into the driveway, does that solve the problem, or am I looking at this wrong angle?
You can bring it to the front?
Well,
I think John's correct. I think if you wanted to bring it to the front,
Well,
it could be
It
possible.
would block my other garage doors, on the side of my house, yeah,
yeah, these are garage doors?
yeah,
So you're gonna have your 3 garage doors now,
yes,
and you're gonna have another garage.
yes.
So again, can you just explain the usage for the garage, the extra garage?
Just, my tractor,
Boat.
yeah, miscellaneous, all our lawn furniture. We've accumulated a lot of crap over the years, I guess.
Stuff.
Stuff.
Sounds nicer.
So, I mean,
Yes.
my shed is full, and so I'm just looking for something a little bigger.
How big is it? I mean,
The shed is 12 by 16.
not as big as Ray's.
Okay, any other questions from the board? Okay, I'm gonna ask you to take a seat, please. Is anybody here who would like to speak on this application? Just questions on the application, for or against the application? Okay, I see there's nobody here to speak on the application. Do I have a motion, we vote on this tonight?
So moved.
Motion, all those approve, saying aye.
Aye.
Nays? Ayes have it. Okay, I will do a roll call vote on this, starting with John.
I'll approve.
You approve as presented? Okay, Denise?
Approve as presented.
I also approve as presented. Jenny? Russ?
Approved.
Approve as presented. Okay. Thank you. Okay, what else do we have tonight? Okay, that takes care of ratifications, old business, new business. Now we have the zoning board of appeals. We will sit now as the zoning board of appeals. Does, recording secretary need a break or anything? No? Okay. We shall continue.
I'm going to, step aside,
Okay,
give switchboard to the
all right.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I think you need a motion to adjourn and then a motion to convene as the zoning board of appeals.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Okay. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Okay, that's a second. That, motion that we adjourn as the Coventry zoning board of review. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nays? Ayes have it. Now we shall reconvene as the Coventry zoning board of appeals. And, just for the record, I'll have the secretary do a roll call.
Keith Cludier?
Here.
John D'Onofrio.
Here.
Denise DeGrade.
Here.
Bob Crow.
Here.
Ginny Susi. Here. Russ Lockley.
Here.
Okay. All right. At this time here, I will ask for clarification from Brian Wagner, the Coventry zoning and director.
Mr. Chair, when this matter was last before you on October 17th, I believe we had a pretty much full presentation by both parties at the conclusion of the evening. The board voted to remand the matter to the planning department and to hold the proceedings in abeyance to allow the respondent 30 days to respond and submit a plan to the planning department for mitigation efforts on the shadow flicker. We have not received a plan since October 17th, so nothing has changed since the end of those proceedings to today. I would suggest, we do have one brief rebuttal witness that we would like to call to present in response to some of the testimony presented by WED regarding the Epsilon report, just to clarify, how that report was prepared and what the results indicate to the board. But beyond that, we think that this matter is ready for decision. You have everything you need to have to move forward with a decision.
Okay, if you wish to bring this individual up.
Yes, Mr. Sir?
Okay, I'm gonna ask you to give your full name and address.
It's Clinton Sear, address 63 Garfield Street in Quincy, Mass.
And you're here representing who?
The town of Coventry.
The town of Coventry. And you work for who?
Epsilon Associates.
Epsilon Associates, okay. Epsilon Associates is located where?
In Maynard, Massachusetts.
Maynard, Massachusetts, okay.
Could
Now,
you spell your last name for the record, please?
CYR.
okay, now, and your background is?
I've been with Epsilon for approximately over 5 years. So I have over 5 years of experience in wind energy projects. I did go to school for mechanical engineering and concentrated in acoustics. Epsilon has worked on nearly 200 wind energy projects in their history, and I've been involved in over 40 of those. As far as shadow flicker goes, I've been involved in approximately 15 or so projects at Epsilon.
And your formal education is?
Bachelor's of Mechanical Engineering.
From where?
From the University of Hartford, Connecticut.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna ask you to raise your right hand. You swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth in front of this board?
I do.
Okay. All right, what would you like to present to us at this time, the planning department? Brian.
So I've prepared a few slides. I believe Brian's gotten to the first one, jumping into shadow flicker. I'm sure this has already been discussed, but just to explain what shadow flicker is, it's the intermittent change of intensity of light when the wind turbine blade passes by the sun. So it's that interaction there that you'll see typically at the home as shadows are created.
Now, is the shadow flickering only for the interior of the home, or is that for all the property?
I suppose flicker is generally associated with what's inside the home, only because the shadow will pass by the window and create this flickering effect inside the home. However, the shadow is generated, of course, outside the home as well.
But is that not considered part of the shadowing flicker? What the shadowing, like on the structure of the land and the barn or anything that's out there? Is that not considered shadowing flickering?
I suppose it would all be considered.
I can't have a suppose.
Mr. Chair, for the purposes of this particular proceeding, the town acknowledges that in terms of regulated shadow flicker, we're talking about flicker inside the home. So
That's what we're talking about,
yeah.
inside the home.
That would really
Okay.
be a question of how it's regulated. And in this particular case, we are concerned about the flicker inside the house.
Okay. All right, continue.
Okay, so my company does a lot of shadow flicker modeling, and we use a methodology as follows on this slide. We use a software package called WinPro. It's a widely accepted software package that other companies use. And the software, you put in certain calculation inputs into, such as the actual locations of the wind turbines, the locations of discrete modeling points, homes, for example, or other structures, as well as wind turbine dimensions, which includes the hub height and the rotor diameter. The calculation area, which is basically the distance that shadow flicker would be calculated out to, as well as terrain information locally around the wind turbines and the receptors.
So you put in all the trees and everything else in your calculation. It's not the...
But by default, we actually exclude all vegetation, so that assumes that the earth is bare. So
Okay,
no,
that's what I need to know.
correct. All structures, we don't model structures, and there's no vegetation included in the initial modeling.
Okay.
In addition, all receptors or homes are modeled as greenhouses, in which case we model it as a window that is facing all directions, so it would see shadow flicker from a wind turbine to the north, west, any direction from the home, which could be conservative, assuming there isn't actually a window on every single facade of the home. So the initial calculation in this software is a worst case calculation, where it assumes that the sun is always shining from sunrise to sunset, and that the wind turbine is constantly spinning. To further refine the model, we incorporate expected conditions, which are sunshine probabilities, as well as wind direction and wind speed conditions that are representative of the area. So just to summarize the actual modeling that we did for the town of Coventry, this model included a total of 10 wind turbines. We included a total of 986 receptor points that were provided to Epsilon. These were the primary structures on parcels in the town of Coventry within a certain range of the turbines. We included a calculation distance out to 1¼ miles from every single wind turbine. And then we also incorporated those sunshine probabilities that I was describing, as well as wind data from the city of Providence, Rhode Island, which happened to be the closest city with publicly available data.
Just on that data, how far back does that data go?
I believe that there's, the answer would be twofold, because we have sunshine probabilities, which is from a government website actually, and I believe that I actually don't recall the range off the top of my head, but it could be back as far as 1965.
Okay, so more than 10 years.
Possibly. Again, I don't recall.
Okay.
And then the wind data, I believe, was from a more recent data set. So just to summarize the results from the modeling that we did, again, the report that Epsilon provided does show expected case results. and these are annual durations. So we had a total of 686 of those receptors experiencing no shadow flicker from the wind turbines. A total of 270 receptors experiencing 0 to 10 hours per year. About 28 receptors experiencing between 10 and 30 hours per year. And then there were 2 receptors expected to experience over 30 hours of flicker per year. And those durations are included on that slide there.
Okay, now, did you do this before they were constructed?
No, this was a post-construction
This
study.
was a post-construction. So you never had any knowledge, or this model was never done before construction or during construction?
Mr. Chair, Epsilon is a consultant that was hired by the town to look into the shadow flicker complaints last
Right, but
year.
and I might be mixed up completely. I thought that they also did a report when it was constructed by the contractor.
That was a different consultant. That was ESS Consultants. There was a consultant who did similar work
Oh, but
at
it
that
wasn't the
time,
same
but
consultant.
it was not the same consultant.
Okay, that's what I want to clear up. Okay, thank you.
I would just like to ask a couple of questions, Mr. Sir. At our last hearing, the respondent WED's experts insisted on referring to your report as a worst case analysis. Just to clarify, that is not correct.
That is not correct. The results presented in the Epsilon report are expected case values.
So it's a worst case analysis that's been refined with sunshine and wind data, correct?
That is correct.
Now, looking at the current slide that's up there, the site number 287, that 37-hour, 28-minute expected case analysis, do you know what that number would be under a worst case analysis for that location?
Under worst case, the model does give us a worst case value, and I believe it was approximately 135 hours and some minutes worst case value.
Thank you.
Okay, how about the case number 511? Did you do a worst case on that one?
Worst case was included. I do not have the value off the top of my head on that receptor. I believe that particular point in the model was very close, practically right under one of the wind turbines. So I believe it may be a structure associated with the wind turbines, if not a town structure.
Mr. Chair, if I remember correctly, that's a non-residential structure on the Pachillo property. So it's a structure that came up on their survey, but it's not a residence. And
Okay,
it's
so
actually
you-
on the Superfund site.
But everything else is a residence.
That's the monitoring station for the wells.
Okay, but what I'm asking though, everything else is a structure other than that.
I mean, they modeled all the structures and located them. I guess potentially some of the structures they saw were not residences. Number 287 is a residence. That is Mr. Sullivan's farmhouse, who Mr. Sullivan testified in October.
Okay, that's what I need to know.
Getting back to his expected results, I'm just trying to get a gauge on how accurate your expectations are. How many reports has Epsilon done of this type of nature?
Shadow flicker reports?
Yes. Shadow flicker reports that use expected modeling.
The majority of our reports do present expected case values. That is typically as requested by our clients. And as I mentioned, I believe previously, I've been involved in at least 15 shadow flicker reports, projects with Epsilon. Epsilon as a whole has done more projects.
So the reports are done. Is a study ever done after the fact to go back and measure what actually happened compared to the expected results and reports to see how accurate they are?
Epsilon has not performed that type of study, and I don't, to my knowledge, there's very little to support that type of study, actually.
Okay. Is this an accumulation of all 10 turbines?
That's correct. The results include shadow flicker generated by all 10.
All 10, okay.
Yes.
And are all 10 producing flicker at number 287, or is it limited to 1 through 5 or 2 through 6, or you know, do we know specifically which turbines are producing these numbers?
We do. So the model, of course, does account for all 10 turbines, but at that particular receptor, I don't believe it was all 10 impacting. It's a factor of proximity to the receptor.
Okay.
So you might be just using 2.
So what's your best guess? How many turbines are doing this?
I think if you look at the report, the copy of the report, there's a visual representation that shows the shadow areas for each turbine, so you can look at
we
that.
have that report?
Yeah, it was provided to you.
Okay. Well, it might not be, I don't know. It might- yeah. Go ahead.
I do have in addition to what was included in the report, the model does have other outputs that you can review. And I do have in front of me a graphical calendar that identifies the exact wind turbines that would be impacting at said receptor. And it looks like there are 5 of the 10 wind turbines impacting at that receptor.
Okay. Any further questions? All right. Mr. Wagner, I'll turn it back over to you.
That was all I had. Thank you very much, Mr. Sir.
Mr. Wagner, you have anything else you'd like to add?
I don't. That was the only issue I needed to clarify from last October.
All right. I'm going to ask the individual, should he stay here or?
Yeah, Mr. Sir,
In case
you
he wants
should
to- okay.
hang out. I don't know if there's anybody else that wanted to speak.
Well-
I don't believe that you formally closed the public hearing at the end of the last meeting.
No,
So,
I would like the applicant to be able to, cross-examine. Please give your full name and address. I know it's on the record, but
Absolutely, Mr. Chairman. Members of the board, good evening. John Mancini on behalf of the applicant respondent. Mr. Chairman, I just have one objection. Well, I have a couple objections, but my most important objection is the calling of this witness. We were not given any notification that Mr. Wagner was calling any witness, nor did we receive any of this information. Accordingly, we have not had an opportunity to review it, nor are we prepared to respond to it, simply because we weren't aware of it. Our understanding was this was a meeting in order to obtain a or in order to give you a status as to where we are. We still have a period of time in which to remedy the situation. If you recall, you remanded the matter back. I do believe that the hearing was closed, although I don't know for sure if it was not. We can check the record, but I do know that your decision at that point was to remand it back to the zoning official to allow us to provide a mediation plan within 30 days. I'm surprised that Mr. Wagner said that we didn't do that, because we did provide a letter on October 26, 2018 by Mr. Brusini, who's legal counsel for WED, who did
Mr. Wagner,
identify.
do you have this letter from October 26th?
I have the letter, but it's not a plan.
It's not a plan.
Well, if you want to share the letter describes what the intent is. And based on that letter, we then proceeded to do the actions in that letter, which is to acquire the equipment and to seek inspection of the property. Most importantly, we have requested and have continuously requested the opportunity to work with Epsilon. Now, Epsilon is the town's engineer. It's been hired by the town. We're willing to reimburse the town for the expenses that it has incurred with this engineer, and we wish to pay the engineer going forward to monitor the mitigation plan, which would incorporate not only the installation of this equipment, but also a shutdown of the turbines for a certain time period between July and August. We think that that would mitigate section or number 287, but we want that to be confirmed with Epsilon. We want to work with one engineer. Mr. Wagner does not want us to use that engineer or your engineer because they're anticipating that if we end up in litigation, then they're barred from using that engineer. We think that this engineer has already done the report, it's familiar with it. We want to utilize that, and we want to work in the town in conjunction with that report in doing that. That's been essentially, I guess, the stick in the mud, if you will. So we're prepared to mitigate. We've submitted a plan that we think works, or an outline of a plan that works. We want to use your engineer. We want to pay for that engineer. We want to pay for the engineering going forward. But if we don't have access to the engineer and to this report to sit down with them, to describe to them the equipment that we want to utilize and whether or not that equipment would work. I mean, we've narrowed it down to 5 turbines. Your engineers narrowed it down to 5 turbines from what we can see. We've narrowed it down to 1 receptor, and we're talking about 7 hours of excess flicker, and we think we can bring it below the 30 hours with the equipment that we have. And that can be verified with your engineer. If you allow us the opportunity to work with the engineer, I don't see why.
I don't think we ever settled on a number of 7 hours. So you're saying 7 hours.
I'm not settling on the number of 7 hours. I'm saying you're looking at over 30 hours. We're looking at 37 hours and 28 minutes by your own engineer. That's something for discussion, and we can discuss that with your engineer. And your engineer knows the equipment, can view the equipment, can work with us in putting together a mitigation plan. It's an opportunity to work cooperatively in doing that. That's what we're asking for.
Here's where I'm getting lost in all this. When this plan came in front of us, the developer told us that they would be able to shut down the windmills if there were any flick issues for a short period of time, just to mitigate it. Apparently, the equipment was never installed to do that. For whatever reason, it wasn't installed. It's been a multiple-year situation going on here. We asked for a 30-day plan, and we're still getting back to he said, she said, I can't, they won't let me. We have a resident that's suffering while all this is going on. And all we wanted was a 30-day answer as to how this was going to happen. And now we're hearing, well, we can't get sensors there. We know there's a problem. You don't need sensors. We know that there's a problem there. We have video that was presented to this board showing the problem. I'm not sure why you have to be on the property with receptors. Can't somebody just stand and look and see the flicker from out to the property line?
I think the engineers are telling, well, you can ask your own engineer, and we can work with them to see if we have to go on the property. We think it's best to be on the property and to identify it and to analyze it from the property's perspective.
What about a drone? Can a drone do the same thing?
I'm not an engineer. I can't tell you.
Who can tell me? Who can tell me that?
Epsilon can tell us. If we can work with Epsilon, maybe we can craft the mitigation plan together.
Doesn't your developer have an engineer?
We have an in-house engineer, right? But we're willing to take our engineer and combine that effort with the town's engineer so we confirm it as being complete. And you have your party, if you will, at the table. This is an issue that I think needs to be worked through cooperatively with the town. I think it's the best way to spend productive dollars. The equipment can come in. They can actually identify whether or not they think it's adequate equipment or if they feel that there should be better equipment. That's where we're asking the time and effort be expended on. We've presented that in that correspondence. You know, having the engineer come up here and not giving us an opportunity or knowledge that the engineer is going to testify and turn this into a continuation of a hearing that we had in October when we thought this was a status conference, a status meeting, and we were going to talk about what we were doing and what the plan was. We still have time to implement the plan based on your ruling or decision, which was to send us back for 30 days, get a plan in 30 days, and then put the plan into motion in 6 months. We're still in that time period. We want to work with you, and this, I think, is the best way to do it. Allow us access to your engineer.
Within 6 months?
I'm sorry. Well, maybe you didn't use those words, but my understanding was once the mitigation plan was presented, it was to be implemented within 6 months.
Okay. So why doesn't your own staff have a plan? Why do you have to utilize services that the town contracted for their information? You got engineers on your staff. Why haven't your staff come up with a plan 4 months ago, when this all started.
We've ordered the equipment. We have a plan that calls for a specific equipment. The determination of the question is which turbines are gonna be utilized on that equipment, and we wanna work with the town in respect to that, A. And secondly, is the equipment enough, or maybe in lieu of the equipment, we determine to shut the turbines down for a period of 6 hours in July and August.
Okay, that's to be done now in the meantime till this is resolved.
We could do it right now. We could,
Well,
if
why
we can,
isn't it?
because if we can have an agreement that we can sit down with the engineer, with Epsilon, we're willing to engage him. We're willing to pay for him. If we can sit down and have access to your town engineer, Epsilon, and craft a plan together so that we have one plan presented and approved by your engineer, this could be done in 30 days.
But just backing up, you said right now, and I know through a telephone, that those turbines can be stopped. So while this is all going on, just until this is resolved, can't something be put in place? That's what we're looking for. Is a way
Right, but now's not the time to do it because this isn't the time period in which the flicker is the most aggressive. We're talking about really the summer months. We're talking about July and August, and that is the time period in which I think the most impact is, and I think that's what you heard at the October
Well,
meeting.
we heard it was a year-round problem, not just July and August.
Well, it's a question of hours. So if your report says 37 hours and 28 minutes during the course of a 1-year period, I'm
not sold that that's the most accurate report because I can't get anything that says that this can be verified. So it could be more than 37 hours. It could be less.
Worst case scenario was 120 hours.
So it could be between the two.
So it could be between that.
Um,
And also, when these things were built, the equipment was supposed to be on those things that somebody could just dial up the computer or dial up with a phone or whatever and shut those things off when somebody was, complaining about flicker. So when they were built, the equipment wasn't installed on these things. So from the get-go, it wasn't right.
I can't comment to that. I don't know. I wasn't at that hearing. I did review your special use permit. There's no specific condition with regards to that, so it's unclear. But what is clear is that there's no objection to putting that equipment on the units. If we can get confirmation as to which units would be most beneficial.
But I think it should be on all of them.
Maybe that's the determination. Maybe that's the
Because
ultimate
that's what
outcome.
was explained to us.
Again, I don't know what was explained to you. I wasn't at that meeting.
I don't
but
think
I don't have that
board
special.
member that's
I don't
gonna
have.
lie to you and tell you something different.
No, that's. But the point is, it's not on the special use permit as a particular
no,
condition.
but it was part of the testimony to grant the special use permit.
Testimony.
No.
So we take all your testimony and throw it out. Is that what you're telling me? Your testimony was useless, worthless?
Mr. Chairman, you know that I'm not saying that.
Well, that's what you told me. If it was, if it's
no,
not
I'm not
written
saying
on
that
it.
you throw out the testimony. I'm not saying that, and I'm not saying that it's all useless. It's clearly not. It's important. My point is, for this discussion and for this resolution, what we're proposing, what we're asking is allow us to work with your engineer. We'll pay for it and allow us to craft. I mean, it's your engineer. We'll craft a mitigation plan together.
The legal justification as to why Mr. Wagner is opposed to that.
Mr. Donofrio, we've been explaining to Attorney Mancini and his clients for the better part of 3.5 months at this point that it is the town's preference to maintain the independence and objectivity of its own consultants. And when we were here in October, Mr. DePasquale testified at length about how he had consultants capable of doing it. He testified at length about how his data is not substantially at odds with Epsilon's, and we instructed them to move ahead with their own in-house expertise. We are going to retain the independence and objectivity of our own consultants in the event that we need them in the future. And that's what they've been told, and they have decided not to proceed on their own behalf using their own experts.
My concern is, you don't need a permission to hire a consulting company. What's to stop them just going to Epsilon and trying to get their own contract? They don't need our permission.
We've tried, and Epsilon will not work with us because of the conflict.
That's Epsilon's choice. That's not.
No, they're being told not to work with us because of the town.
Can I chime in?
Please.
It was the recommendation of the council for the town, the solicitor, that Epsilon remain independent. And for months prior to this even coming up, we've been telling WED that that's going to remain that way and that they don't need to work with them. So we've heard this a number of times, and it doesn't seem to be, it's never clear to us why the inability to work with one particular engineering firm prevents them from remedying the issue. It's still something that I quite frankly don't understand, and I've heard a number of times. Mr. DePasquale, I believe, has not only in-house engineers, but I also believe he's hired a number of consultants over the.
Well, it's based on the scope of the projects, he's ongoing projects now across the state. I think they have plenty of engineering firms they can be tapping into.
So that's just the backdrop, but I'll just remind you why we're here.
I just want to know the legal justification as to why the town does not.
So that was a recommendation from the solicitor, and it's been long-standing, and it's been communicated to Mr. Mancini and Mr. Brasini.
Is that common practice in this type of case?
I don't know if it's common or not. In litigation, it certainly is common that each side would have their own engineer. I know that Mr. Wagner looked for someone to consult him when he was considering this NOV, and there were precious few engineering firms who could do it. Most of them were hired by either Mr. DePasquale or other wind energy companies, so they were conflicted out of the work. So it's one of the few that we were able to get, and we felt it was important to maintain their independence.
Okay.
And again, I don't see, and I still don't understand why working with one particular engineering firm is the thing that's blocking turning off these turbines either automatically through some type of module or manually with a computer, which I've been told they can do, to abate the violation. So with that said, and I didn't
Well,
mean
thank
to-
you for that. I want a legal justification as to why that was in place.
So
Thank you.
why we're here tonight, because I just want to put it in the procedural context so you don't get too far in the weeds. There was a notice of violation issued quite some time ago after a warning that came before you at the last meeting. You were listened to some evidence, you listened to some argument, and instead of voting as to whether to overturn the NOV, you gave the parties, you held it in abeyance for 30 days.
Which has been stretched out now.
So that they could reach some type of solution. I think what you're hearing from your town planner is that a solution has not been reached. So I think you know, again, you're here on an appeal from a NOV. You have to make a determination as to whether the NOV was issued with clear, either is the result of clear error, lack of the weight of the evidence, or procedural error. And if you don't find one of those three elements, then you uphold the NOV. But that's what we're here. We're not here to really reconsider all of the evidence as it was put in, but rather to look at what the building official looked at and determine whether he was supported by some form of evidence.
Didn't we also direct them to come up with a plan?
For 30 days.
You gave him, you held the whole thing in abeyance for 30 days, come up with a solution. I think what you're being told now is a solution has not been reached. And of course,
Okay, what is your, this letter dated, what was it? What was it?
October 26th.
October 26th. What is your opinion on that letter?
My opinion is that it's, well,
Is
you
that
want
a
my
plan?
opinion? It's not a plan. It's a continuation of an effort to delay over months and months what could have been done in a matter of weeks or days.
Right.
That's my opinion based upon my interactions, but.
Okay.
Through the chair, a few points. First off, if the issue and the concern with regards to using Epsilon is the independence and whether or not they cannot or the town cannot use them in litigation going forward, I can certainly speak to the client about waiving that right so that you're not conflicted. If you want to use that of this engineer in litigation going forward, that's fine. I don't think that is of concern to us. We want to use them, so we wouldn't have an issue with that. So
Why do you want to use them? Do you have other firms?
I do. Well, there's two things. One is the town's already confirmed and they've used them, so they're comfortable with them. So if this engineer signs off on a combined plan, then I don't feel.
But they're comfortable using them, they're not comfortable with you using them.
No, but we would be comfortable with using them so that if they okay the plan, which the plan is the installation of the equipment on the selected wind turbines, and they're okay with that plan, then why would the town not be okay with the plan if their own engineer has accepted it and signed off on it?
Are we talking about the equipment that, the modules that they can go in and they can shut down the turbine at any time when there's flicker issues?
No. So the equipment that's being discussed and what was described at the October meeting is the fact that it's automatic. So it's a system which automatically analyzes, determines the amount of flicker, and closes or shuts down the turbine.
Okay.
So that we don't do it manually, there's no delay in that
Just for point of
process.
record, I got one thing. Keith, you heard this, you were here for the
Yes,
meeting,
sir.
correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, so I do have, Ginny has to leave, Ginny Susi, so I wanna make sure I have a full board for business. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Are we okay, so?
And you were all here for the previous
That's what
meeting?
I'm asking.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Okay? You're okay with this?
I am.
Okay.
That's essentially the plan. The plan is the installation of these automatic modules, and I don't know what the proper terminology of it is. We're prepared. We've actually purchased them. We have them. They're coming in. They're being designed in Germany. The point is before we isolate them, meaning where do we put them, how do we orchestrate them, whether or not they're acceptable, we want to sit down and work with Epsilon.
But you have engineers that can tell you the same thing.
But they're not your engineers.
Doesn't matter. You still have-
But if you're,
But do you have engineers that can tell you the same thing?
yeah, we do. We have in-house engineers. Are you willing to accept that?
We're willing for you to submit the report, so we can review it.
But we've described in the correspondence. So the other issue I take is with the fact that this is trying to be a delay tactic. It's not. There's been a tremendous amount of communications between my client and Mr. Brusini and Mr. McGilvery with regards to this. And overall, in fact, as early as last week, we met with the town council in trying to negotiate a global settlement on some other pending issues. So this is not something that this company has buried its head in the sand and has disappeared. We have been in discussions with Mr. McGilvery. That letter on the 26th identifies what we think to be the beginning of a mitigation plan, which is this equipment. This equipment that goes on the turbine and automatically monitors the flickering and shuts it down
Okay, so
appropriately.
that equipment's installed, right? It automatically monitors and shuts down. That's all we're asking.
Yeah, but what we want is confirmation from your engineer that that's acceptable, because we think that that should be the standard.
It's not acceptable because it was already supposed to be on there. That's what, see, this is where we're missing the whole point.
Yeah.
This was already supposed to be on there. Now, whether you want to you say it's not in the,
decision.
In the decision, and we're saying, wait a minute, this is how we made our decision on this information that was given to us. And because it wasn't directly, we didn't write the whole, and I'm saying in that decision, not only is what was written, but the whole documents of the hearing. And that's included in it. So if you don't want to take the documents of the hearing, then like you say, we throw it out and we throw out the whole
Throw
thing.
out the decision.
Yeah, either way. You got your choice. Either do it or don't do it. Do what you said you were gonna do, or don't do it.
Well, I don't know what type of equipment was
I'm
discussed.
sorry, well, then read the hearing.
Then
you can read the hearing as well as anybody else.
That's fair. So then what I would request is an opportunity to pull that file, to pull those transcripts, to see
You gotta
what
be kidding.
equipment.
You haven't done this in this many months?
I don't know what the equipment was that was described in there. What I know is the equipment that's proposed now may not be the same equipment that was proposed then.
What we
It
just
is.
described is exactly
It was
what's
a
proposed.
generalized equipment that could shut it down any time. Now, you're asking a bunch of laymen, not engineers, to know exactly what type of equipment was addressed. No. We went on
Mr.
the
DiPasquale knows
opinion.
what kind of
Exactly.
equipment we talked about. He was here presenting these things way back when. He knew what was in the testimony. He knew what equipment was needed on those things, and he didn't follow through. My question to the solicitor is at some point, do we have an opportunity to withdraw the special use permit for these things?
Not that I'm aware of
But that's something I can look into, but that's not something I can opine on right now.
I would appreciate it if you would look
Yeah.
into it, because I'm getting a little bit tired of Mr. DePasquale and WED
Okay, no, please.
pushing everybody, delaying everybody,
No,
and just not,
I take
and just
offense to
not
that.
following. You can
well,
take offense to it all
okay.
you want, sir, but Mr.
but I'm just-
DePasquale told us in this room that these were gonna be equipments that were gonna be put on these machines so that they could shut them down when flicker was bad, and it didn't happen. And you're still, it's a delay tactic as far as I'm concerned. And as far as I'm concerned, you want access to our engineer because you want to spin the story your way. And I agree with Mr. Wagner that that's not going to happen. You guys have enough money, you guys have enough resources to hire your own engineers, put together the report, and let our engineer take a look at it and see if it's a workable report. That's what I think should happen.
Well, if I may, and just, again, we're just preserving the record, I respectfully disagree. I understand your point, but no one's here trying to spin a report. It's your engineer's report. We're actually wanting to work with your engineer so that we have one engineer that the town finds acceptable, rather than get into a battle between engineers and a battle of trying to understand, complexities developed by engineers when we're all laymen in this field. We work with one engineer, your engineer, you've chosen, we pay him, and we devise up a mitigation plan
But
to
at
get
this time,
put
that's
into the
been
report.
taken off the table.
That's off the table. That's
Okay.
off the table. So
now we need
let's
to-
move
okay.
on.
So-
What are you going to do?
So let's go to Plan B.
Okay.
Okay, let's get this resolved.
Yeah, well, we've been trying to resolve. You want to go to Plan B?
You use your engineers, and as the Vice Chair suggested, we'll have
Well, then, I mean, if we can't use Epsilon, then we'll use our internal engineers and we'll produce to you our report for our mitigation plan, which is going to be an installation of this equipment. And the Plan B to that Plan B may be the shutdown of the turbines for a period of time during July and August. The time period in which we believe to be the most problematic time period.
Let's get this guy some relief.
And this, by the way, has been relayed on multiple occasions to the solicitor, both orally and in correspondence.
So whatever relief, let's just get Mr. Sullivan some relief. That's what we're asking for.
Can I
He's
just-
suffering, let's get him some relief, and just put all this stuff aside. Let's get
We
it
have
done.
no objection to that. We really honestly don't. I mean,
That's
I
why
don't,
we're here.
we're not here to.
I'm gonna just chime in for a second. The notice of violation is not for lack of a plan. We keep talking about the plan
we
like
know
that's what everybody,
We know that.
if we have a piece of paper, that's gonna make things somehow better. The notice of violation was because the building official, right or wrong, found that it was violating the special use permits in the ordinance. That has not been ameliorated,
Hasn't been disproven either.
nor has it been fixed. So whether there's a plan or not is not what the NOV talks about. It talks about fixing the problem. And, the way the NOV works is the fine continues until you stop the violation. So if you have to turn the things off manually for a while to stop the violation, while you come up with a plan, you can do it that way. But this, I think, getting lost in the discussion about when some type of report's gonna be presented, who's gonna present
agree.
it, is not what the notice of violation is about.
And if I may, the point here is a resolution, a practical solution to rectify the situation. Putting aside the NOV and the legality of the NOV and the whether it was proven or not proven, the question is resolution. That's what the board wants. That's what the board expressed in October, and we don't want to be reappearing here arguing the same issues. We also want a resolution. If the decision is you don't want us to use Epsilon, and you want us to use our engineers to develop a plan, then I mean, that's your
But
prerogative.
yet the violation still exists and still ongoing until it's resolved.
So does the fine for the notice of violation that goes on and on and on until the problem is fixed.
That's why we're here in the first place, as was just addressed. It was a violation.
Then we can just address the violation and we just address the fine.
That's what the initial
Okay,
appeal is for.
then just, you fine us, but there's no resolution to that. And it will go on, and that's not what we want. It's not what we're looking to.
Well, I don't think
to
you want
come
that,
up-
'cause the fine goes on as well.
Well,
It goes, so I said I don't think that's what they want. I think
no, we don't, we want to resolve it. We don't want to fine, we don't want to hurt neighbors, we don't want to hurt the town. We came up with a hope to work with your town engineer. If you want to keep your town engineer as your litigation chip, that's fine. then we'll use our inside engineers and we'll develop the plan. And then if it becomes a he said through engineers, I don't think that's then I guess the board has to decide whose engineer is more credible than the other engineer.
But in the end, it's not about the engineers, it's about the equipment that's supposed to be on there, which would monitor us automatically.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter what the engineers say.
Yeah, it's about the resolution. It's about, if we're gonna tell you the equipment, which turbines the equipment's gonna go on, and we'll have that as the plan, and then we'll
But
have
if you
the
do
plan
that,
B.
and the problem continues, then but they have to be on all the turbines, not just
Then do
certain
all
ones.
of them.
It doesn't matter. This equipment should be installed, and the equipment should determine when the flicker's happening, then it should shut down the turbines.
Yeah.
That was what the equipment's supposed to do, and was supposed to have been installed initially. So it doesn't matter what the engineers think based on expectations or worst case, best case, the equipment's supposed to do that.
Yeah.
In real time scenario.
Yeah, I don't think that's unreasonable. I mean, look, we're talking about one receptor, and I think that the goal is to resolve that one receptor. I don't know what the necessity is of having it on all the equipment, but if that's something the board wants us to really analyze and do.
That's what we were told, that's what we want.
Okay.
But how are we gonna solve this now on this one structure?
Well, I think on this one structure, we're proposing to do it on,
When's it gonna be done?
well, we can have our inside report, by your next meeting.
So what about the equipment? When am I
The equipment, I believe, is on its way. We should have that this month. The equipment was ordered. The equipment is
How
probably
about if we
already
shut
been
down
shipped.
how about if we request, Mr. Wagner, shut this down until you have the equipment installed?
Well, we will appeal that.
You'll appeal it.
We'll appeal that. We'll appeal that. If we don't want to be, if this is an issue of
Because
us
we've given you
versus them.
plenty of time.
Well, we've tried to